The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I do think there's a frustration with our controllers that Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, they're all going to get their paychecks. Well, these men and women who control our skies aren't going to be paid because of the shutdown. I think there's also a frustration that the shutdown is about paying for health care benefits for illegal immigrants. I think our controllers, who again are great Americans, want their Congress to focus on America and Americans and are asking the question, why is the Congress, why are Senate Democrats focused on health care benefits for illegals? Maybe focus on me and my paycheck and the services that I provide. Open up the government, negotiate, have a conversation, but don't hold them, their paychecks, their families hostage so you can give benefits to illegal migrants. I think that truly is an overarching concern and theme, and I appreciate that NACA doesn't get political. They don't. But what I think you will hear from Nick is they're asking for the government to open. They're asking for everyone to come together, make sure they all get paid, and then take the time to have conversations, to negotiate. But the answer is never shut down the government. The answer is open the government and then have a dialogue. Come to resolution.
Welcome, my friends. Saturday Morning Vibe. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. 800-848-9222. I'm hoping to hear from Princess Diana later in the program. America's Small Caffeinated Mom's going to be off this week. Lizzie Radabali, we're looking forward to hearing from you at 800-848-9222. So much to discuss in a little time. That was, to start us off, was Senator Rick Scott. The shutdown is now in day 25, but we've got a lot of stuff besides the shutdown. Let me just go over some of the news stories that erupted this week. The White House ballroom has emerged as a huge story. Democrats and their allies in the mainstream media using it as, as a way to, I guess, express their continued TDS. It's a reno job. Anybody ever watch HGTV? You see, when you're doing a reno job, you do a demolition first, then you build back, and hopefully the end result is something very beautiful, but they're having a cow over something that was renovated that's not really part of the White House itself. It is part of, it was a add-on wing, a renovation that was put on, and now the renovation's being renovated. But that's been a big deal. Bigger story than that, or it should be anyway, are the off-year elections that are coming up. Debates this week, New York City. You had the three candidates that are still in the race and are going to be in the race. I just reviewed the polling this morning, and it's an extensive list of polling, and every single one of them shows the same thing. Mamdani has a double-digit lead. Cuomo struggling to get to 30%. Curtis Lee was struggling to get to 20%. It does not look favorable. Meanwhile, the Mamdani campaign is out upset because people are talking about his ties and things that he has said in his past regarding radical Islamic terrorists, and he's calling that Islamophobia. The New York Post has an editorial on that today, which we will try to reach given time. There are also races in New Jersey. And in New Jersey, of course, it's a little bit tighter. And the Senate race there in New Jersey, the Senate race in Virginia. Both are up for grabs. They could go either way. It is going to depend on the ground game of either campaign to make sure their voters get out. And Republicans could end up closing out both, one or none. This is all going to depend on ground game. I would say in New Jersey, so far, the momentum appears to be headed toward what could be a Republican upset. in Virginia. It is a lot closer than any of the mainstream press had allowed. There were polls which I consider, personal opinion, to be sort of bogus polls to show the race was so wide apart. When Winsome Sears was on this program, she talked about those polls and said the internals showed a neck and neck. In the final days of that campaign, that's what it appears to be. She was telling the truth. The internal polls are showing a tight race in Virginia, but that could go in any or either direction. One of the big stories on social media has been Snap. Kelvin, how many cuts do we have in here today from Snap people, Snap recipients, Snap threatening people? It's a bunch, right?
Not enough.
It's not enough. I think it's been probably an hour just dealing with the Snap stuff. And we'll play some of that. We have a basketball. Vincent is here this morning. He is a basketball historian. He was regaling me with tales of basketball, people that belong in the Hall of Fame. He's one of those that works on getting people. He's a big basketball guy. I don't want to talk about Hall of Fame basketball players. I'd rather talk about, if we get to it and get your reaction to it, what just happened with the NBA. Back in the day, I referred to it as the TBA, the Thug Basketball Association. That was back when basketball players were jumping in the stands to beat up the patrons of the game. That's back when basketball players were first starting to bring guns into the locker room and bringing the gangster lifestyle into the locker rooms. And then after that, I kind of left it alone. But we have this scandal this week involving organized betting, basketball, the mob. Some of the families in the New York mob, the familiar names tied up with basketball. And so if we have time, I would love to get into that a little bit. We have Canada in the news. So much has happened this week. We have, the premier of Ontario, Douglas Ford. And by the way, the Fords in Canada, that's a whole nother story. They're like, I don't even know whether you remember the other Ford brother that was in Canadian politics that had sort of a, how shall I say it, a problem. Kind of like the Marion Barry of Canada. Anyway, this guy, Douglas Ford, they ran a $70 million ad targeted at Republican districts to try to slam Donald Trump on tariffs using Ronald Reagan, without the permission, of course, of the Reagan folks. It backfired. Trump said, okay, screw you, done with trade talks. And now there's all kind of scrambling going on there. It is quite interesting. Then we have drugs on the high seas. This administration has been proactive in, as you know, trying to take down drug traffickers. Now, there is a lot of controversy about this, and we will hear about some of the controversy. But Democrats, especially in their mainstream media allies, are losing their minds. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, huge drug bust, an open-air drug market that has run for decades, has been taken out thanks to what? Thanks to local law enforcement and the intervention of federal law enforcement. 30 years it exists. Now they don't. They're behind bars. And yet you have Democrat after Democrat, including Governor Pritzker, demonizing law enforcement. We have audio from Pritzker, and we have a bunch of Stephen Miller today, too, who is always interesting with his take. So we have all that and more. Your calls, of course, welcome. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We've set the table. Let us take a break.
The James Golding Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golding Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Just find out there's no EBT next month. My heart. There's no EBT next month. What is this pumpkin man doing, bro? Why the we gotta starve on Thanksgiving? Are you dead ass, pumpkin man? It's like, yo, it's just like you gotta like... Why the there's no EBT next month? Why the November though? It couldn't be January, Feb, March it? Why the does it have to be November? Why November? Yo, how the am I supposed to afford groceries? How the am I supposed to afford groceries if we gotta suffer on Thanksgiving too? We were supposed to eat better today, now we gotta starve today.
What was that, an alarm clock? No, yes, that was some of the response on social media. Okay, let me get cracking with some of this stuff. I don't even know. I'm trying to decide where to start with all of these things, whether we should start with this White House ballroom nonsense as it continues to roll in days and days of story. The Daily Mail had a thing today. Trump unveils name, but Trump has not unveiled the name. There is a lot of speculation that Trump is considering naming this ballroom for himself, which would just totally send the critics into this. They have TBS all the time. How do you even go further than TBS? It would just TDS. It would send them into another level with their TDS. But the hysteria over this ballroom is still everywhere. And that is, we have a former Cut 28 anchoretess that was on PMS NBC for a time, with the usual sentiment about it. You might recognize her voice. So few people watch the show, though, I don't know whether you will or not.
We have all of that money. We have available money to do all those kinds of things, but not for your health care. We had the money to make the tax cuts for billionaires permanent, so they get them forever. We had that money, and we have the money to do this to your White House, but no money for you. No money for food stamps. People are going to run out of food stamps. Those are not going to be renewed. That's going to create a crisis of hunger across this country. We have no money for that. No money for food stamps. No money to pay federal workers. We're going to fire and lay off federal workers. No money to pay the TSA agents keeping you safe or the air traffic controllers to make sure your planes don't crash. No money for that. But we have money for this? Make it make sense. Is that how you want your money used? Is this what you voted for? Because if this is making America great again, we need to stop making America great again because I'm exhausted. Morally and physically and mentally exhausted.
And therein lies the sort of misinformation that was prevalent when this person happened to be on PMS NBC. Number one, we are still going to be spending billions of dollars no matter what on EBT. Period. And when the government reopens again, if their benefits are interrupted here, that would be the fault of Democrats who shut down the government. When it resumes, there will still be billions and billions and billions spent on food stamps and other welfare. Entitlement spending will still be the most expensive part of the United States budget. Entitlements. Number two, Donald Trump's this ballroom that is being built onto the White House is being paid for with private donations, not taxpayer money. So this whole spiel about we have money for this, we have money for that, is inaccurate because your taxpayer dollars are not being used to fund the renovations at the White House. And as for all of these things that were listed, these tax cuts for billionaires that have been made permanent, there's one thing that is rarely discussed. Despite whatever tax cuts have been made permanent, the wealthy in America continue to pay the largest amount of taxes. No matter what, the wealthy are still supporting America with taxes. So you can quibble because they get a little break here and there, but they are paying a higher percentage of money than anybody else to keep this country going. James Golden, Snerdley, 800-848-9222. Do not go away. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'm going to tell y'all straight up like this. I just got that text that the link is definitely cut the off for November. Y'all better stay the out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with cards and I'm not paying for Trump, if you won't start looting, what's going to happen? Before my kids go broke in this bitch like Jock, I'm going to be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow. I am going to go in that store, get everything I get regularly. I'm going to bag my up, swipe my link card, as soon as that bitch say, ain't no pending balance on there, I'm going to walk the out. And I'm going to have one of my cousins with me that'll punch your ass so hard, you going to think a Jet 2 holiday hit your bitch ass if you think I ain't finna walk out that store. And please follow me to that car if you feeling froggy, bitch. You ain't going to make it back to your position at that Walmart store. I'm telling you. You want to take some link? Like, I don't be taking already.
James Golden and Snerdley, we have telephone calls and we're going to take them. In fact, we can move into some of these areas of conversation based on what I see with the telephone calls. So I invited people to call. Let's do that. Let's get to the phones. And we will begin with Austin, who is calling from Manchester, New Jersey. And I'm just going to ask everyone on the phones to please get right to your point. That way we can get to as many people as possible. And I ask very respectfully, let's get right to the point. So, Austin, what's on your mind this morning?
Good morning, sir. How you doing? Why don't they just ask Mondami? Good, I'm glad you're doing it. Why don't they just ask Mondami, does he support Hamas and what they did on October 7th? And if he was on an interview for a job in New York, and he brought his resume in, why would you hire somebody with no experience, absolutely nothing on his resume, to qualify as mayor?
All right, Austin, let me ask you a question, and I'm not picking on you. I'm asking you a question. These arguments have been raised, some of them about Mondami, since the beginning. In fact, there is an editorial today from the New York Post editorial board. It's not Islamophobic to notice Mondami hates Israel and the West. And they go into detail about it. They said, they point out that it was Mondami who wrote and sang a rap song giving his love to the Holy Land Five, American Hamas financiers. They also point out that Mondami posed for pictures with broadcaster Hassan Piker, who believes that America deserved to be attacked on 9/11. He's posed pictures with him. While the streamer wore a Did Jet Fuel Melt Steel Beams t-shirt. That's from the 9/11 truthers. He also embraces Siraj Wajaz, the radical Brooklyn cleric, unindicted co-conspirator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. And It's no secret his political awakening and career have been focused on the eradication of Zionism. He was arrested outside of Chuck Schumer's house at a Stop Genocide protest less than a week after the October 7th attacks. And the New York Post says that the list of those kind of things go on and on. It is not Islamophobic to point it out. As you know, or you may know, Sid Rosenberg was interviewing Cuomo and said Sid said, that he thought Mondami would be cheering 9/11. The campaign reacted, "Oh, you people are Islamophobic," et cetera, et cetera. Now, this is a long question, Austin, and I thank you for your patience. I wanted to get the news story of the New York Post in. So let me ask you a question. Do you think, given the polls, given all the information that's out here, that anybody is going to change their mind in these last days of the campaign?
Only if there is some sort of coalition and Sliwa drops out, I think, and maybe Cuomo appoints him, or they work out a deal where he becomes a deputy of something, one of his main deputies. I don't think people are going to change their minds, but they're going to be, if there's a coalition or something that gives a better chance for somebody else to get elected. Cuomo, I think, is I guess the guy, because the poll numbers don't show it for Sliwa. Only if something like that happens, people are going to change their mind and have to do something. But back to Mondami, I just want to hear him say, not squirm out of an answer, not deflect and call it Islamophobia. It's not. I was down on Spring Street and 6th Avenue, and I saw a lot what happened on 9/11. In fact, too much. So I just don't think he's ever answered it succinctly, and he always squirms his way and slithers away to some other point. It's not Islamophobia. You respect people for who they are. You don't respect hateful people, and that's my point. How do you get him to admit to his hate on, face to face?
And I think that if you expect him to answer without squirming away, you're going to be disappointed, frankly, because I don't think that he will give you what you want there. But there's always maybe hope. Maybe. We'll see. Austin, thank you for your patience. Thank you for waiting. Let's go to Ontario, Canada. We have other news coming out of Canada today. Ken, how are you in Ontario?
Well, it's nice up here. We're getting winters coming soon, but I thought I would give you a call. I can't hear your station on my radio anymore because it's now faded out for the night. But I was listening. I caught your program here about 3 a.m. It was pretty interesting. But I've called Bill Cunningham. I've called what's his name?
Never mind. You're on with me now. What is it that you want to ask?
Well, I understand there might be something like the 25th Amendment in the American Constitution that might give Donald Trump a third term. And I think it should be considered. It would be kind of like Roosevelt. And he could
let me just say this. I'd rather just get through this term first before we even start speculating on if there would be a third. I personally don't think that most Americans would be okay with it, to be honest with you. I think after the Roosevelt years when Congress enacted a law limiting presidential terms to 2, that is the norm that people expect. I think if you go against that, I think it could be politically disastrous. I know I saw a story today. Steve Bannon says there's a plan for a third term. I think Donald Trump trolls the left with talking about a third term. Let's just get through this term. And I don't think there is a provision. I am not a constitutional lawyer. So if there is a plan, I'd love to know what it is, explained, because to me, it's fairly black and white what the United States, as a government and as a people, have chosen to do with the executive branch, and that's limited to 2 terms. Well, now we'll see if there's some wiggle room. Lawyers can make something out of nothing, and sometimes they can make nothing out of something. So we'll see. But I'd rather just get through the terms that we have. Ken, I have a question for you. You're in Ontario. your guy, Mr. Premier Ford, has unleashed a firestorm. The trade negotiations have been called off because he insisted on a ad targeting Republicans. In fact, we have that. Cut 14, Kelvin. We have the announcement that set all of this off. This is your premier, Douglas Ford.
I'll launch a $75 million ad, and we're going to repeat that message to every Republican district there is right across the entire country. And we're just gonna speak the truth. But that ad, it's not a nasty ad. It's actually just very factual, and coming from a person like Ronald Reagan, every Republican is going to identify that voice. Maybe the younger Republicans can't remember, but he was just the best president the country's ever seen, in my opinion. In fact, factory employment in America is at the lowest level it's been in 5 years. This next one is staggering. The Center for Automotive Research in the U.S. says that President Trump's tariffs on autos will raise the costs for American automakers by nearly $108 billion in 2025. These kinds of enormous costs on businesses result in two outcomes: higher prices for American consumers and fewer jobs for American workers. And inflation.
Okay, we got the gist of it. Enough. He just goes on and on. He trashes Trump, trashes the tariffs, trashes everything. Now they're running this ad targeted at Republicans in Republican districts, as he gleefully said. And Trump got wind of it and just said, "Okay, fine, not talking trade with Canada. Trade talk negotiations suspended." Ken, do you have any thoughts on what that impact will be on Canada?
Yeah, well, what would you like me to say? I'm not a supporter of Ford, but he is a scrapper, and the tariffs aren't doing anybody any good. And, wasn't Ronald Reagan right after all that eventually tariffs damage both countries?
Well, here's the thing. That Ronald Reagan, they did not play in this ad, they did not play the whole speech, because and I listened to the rest of it, what Ronald Reagan then went on to say was that you do have to protect some of your industries. And he was particularly talking, this speech, this radio address that he made was right before he was going to meet with Japan. And he was interested in putting some tariffs on Japanese product at the time. So it's misleading the way that this was used. Secondly, just let me say this, and I'm not trying to pick a fight with you. You guys protect you guys do a damn good job of protecting your industries there with tariffs. You protect your dairy. You protect your lumber. You protect a lot of your natural resources with tariffs. So, I mean, why can't other countries do the same thing?
Well, all I can say to that is that when my people go to Florida for the winter, they take $100 Canadian bill down there and they get 62 American dollars for it. So really, any dealings with Canada, you're already getting nearly a 30% discount, which is not.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But now the Canadian dollar is the weakness, and I don't say that pejoratively. I mean weakness compared to American dollar at the moment. But isn't that volatile? Doesn't that go up and down given market conditions?
It's been that way for quite a while. Anyway.
Yeah.
I wish you guys all the best. I still support Donald Trump. The only reason I made the comment in the first place, it was a shame that he lost his second term and they voted in that idiot Biden. If that hadn't happened, then Trump would have had a second term back to back. And I think he deserves as much as Roosevelt had. And I think he should be given an honorary third term.
I love it. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the call. And keep warm up north there as winter sets in. We have to take a quick break. This is James Golden, Snerdley, with you here. I'm going to have more to say on this Canada bit.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Let's get back to the telephones in the few minutes we have left. Let's see if I can grab another quick call from Kirk in Staten Island. Kirk, Staten Island, New York. What's on your mind this morning?
Hi, James. How you doing, man? Listen, the problem I have, I heard yesterday on one of the shows that I was listening to on WA. I'm a senior citizen. I'm an old man, and they said that there were over 1 million Muslims in New York City. That scares me.
Why?
If this guy Mondani wins, we're done. New York City is done. It's going to be Sharia law. I don't know.
Now, Kirk, I'm going to urge you to do something. I'm going to urge you not to panic. Now, look, I understand people have concerns about Mondani because of his issues. When you say things like, okay, it's going to be Sharia law, that means that somehow or another you think that the other 7 to 8 million people that live in New York that are not Muslim or that are Islamic are going to just say what? Oh, we have a Muslim there. Oh, let's throw out all of American law and let's have Sharia law. I think that's panic. And I don't think it's reasonable that you should put yourself through that kind of stress. I think there is going to be, if Mondani ends up winning the mayor's race, I think a lot more people will become aware of progressivism and what progressives want to do to this country. Because his policies that he's announced are not rooted in Sharia. They're rooted in radical leftist liberalism. And so if he's elected mayor, I would think that that would be the thing that more people should fear. Let me quickly grab a call from Julie. Julie, I've got about a minute and a half, so I'm going to have to get you right to your point. Hi, Julie, calling from New Jersey.
Good morning. I just wanted to say that the majority of the food stamp recipients, if they have kids, they have free breakfasts in school and free lunches. I'm just putting that out there. And maybe they should spend their money then on food and not getting their nails done and eyelashes done. And another thing I wanted to add is people are complaining about the White House with the ballroom putting up. I feel that all of us should be calling our representatives, whether on the left side or the right side, and saying what a great idea that it is. And everything else that Trump's doing, that if it's a great idea, call our recipients and let them know our representatives, and let them know all the good things that we're happy about. Thank you.
Julie, thank you. And she did it right in the noise. Hit 2 topics. Yes, the White House ballroom, all the hysteria over that. And this Snap business. Folks, we're going to be playing more of these Snap folks as the show unfolds. Because some of the comments that are being made are just a real window into the mindset of entitlement. The idea, and you will hear some of these people, particularly women, not all. We had that guy, by the way, there was a guy, he sounded a bit, but there was talking about November and how his food stamps, and he's in his young 20s, he looks like. And many of these people that are complaining about their entitlements being gone are young. We'll be back. Hour number uno in the can. Hour number duo coming up. Whatever you do, keep it right here. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Our number duo, my friends, has arrived on this, our Saturday morning vibe. Our number duo means we check in with the star. She is America's Jen Young anchorette. Shit, boy, she has the handle on things. You know, I so often think about Lizzie during the week when I see certain stories. I wonder what Lizzie would say about this. And she is with us, America's star anchorette of Red Apple Audio Networks. Our very own Lizzie Radabali is here. Good morning, Lizzie.
Good morning, Bo. Good morning. I love that you see a story and I'm top of mind. I appreciate that so much. That just warms my heart.
Well, I do, because you have, and I'm telling you something, you have kind of opened up, I think, our thinking on a lot that's going on. You know, I was talking, Lizzie, just as an aside, I was talking with someone this week who's very involved with AI, and they were with one of the major universities in America. And even this person was saying, look, this stuff is moving so fast. It is really difficult to keep up with all of the changes and all of the impact. And so I thank you for bringing and we're going to talk about some AI stories, but I want to ask you about something first, Lizzie. Yeah. This story made me sick to my stomach. And that is the oldest House member of in the United States Congress, Elizabeth Holmes Norton. She's 88 years old. There are a lot of people saying she should retire. I'm not one of them. But I remember when she came into office, which shows you I'm getting up there. And I remember my mom and others being excited. She's a black woman. She was, even though non-voting delegate, she had a great history as a part of the civil rights movement, et cetera, et cetera. She was elected to Congress. Non-voting delegate representing D.C., the District of Columbia. She has early stage dementia right now. She was duped by some cleaning service claiming to be HVAC workers that went to her house. They swindled her out of $4,362. They put her on a credit card, did not perform any work. The person that is her quote-unquote caretaker wasn't at the house at the time, just another scammer. And this came, Lizzie, on top of the news, and this is where the link is. On top of the news this week, the NBA involved in another cheating scam, involving the mafia. And everywhere you look, you pick up your phone and you don't see a number. I don't know, 90% of the time it's somebody trying to scam you. I raised the point in the week, is there any honesty left anywhere in this country, in this world? These scammers. And I just wanted to get your take on this Elizabeth Holmes story and more important, the scamming. You point out the scamming that's going on online. And these scammers. Have we, Lizzie, you're younger. Do you get a sense that honesty is gone, that most people are honest, dishonest? They don't care about honesty. What's your take on all this?
Well, I do think that we very much live in a very low trust society. I don't think that, I see headlines, not just, when I think of, scams or anything like that. I think of the stories of, we talked about a ding-dong ditching teen, who was shot by their neighbor. Like, people are so paranoid and on edge and constantly on guard. I mean, to be fair, there is horrible stuff that happens. We have this story now about a representative in the United States House being scammed by people showing up at her door. It is crazy times that we live in, but I do think that, it's times like these where we have to kind of take a step back, breathe, and, remember the people in our lives that we do care about, we do trust. I think that we kind of get this tunnel vision with paranoia when it comes to these stories, when it comes to crime in general, that, it just devolves into a worse situation. As long as we are constantly on guard, people are going to try to take advantage of the people who aren't. So, I really think that, we live in a very low trust society. I don't know exactly how to fix it because, this representative getting scammed, I mean, this is a common thing that happens, especially within the elderly community, people showing up at their houses saying, oh, I'm here to do this. I'm here to, service your water or whatever. And they charge them. They never do the work. Sometimes they end up like robbing them even. So, it is very scary. And I do want to say that even though, Representative Holmes Norton, she does not technically have a vote. She is still a very important member in the U.S. House. I mean, she could introduce legislation. She can sit on committees. She could chair committees. Her votes do count in those committees. So, she is a very important person in the House. And I do want to note that her team, her office, is pushing back against the claims from D.C. police that she has dementia. The police report said that, she's an elderly woman and suffers from the early stages of dementia. They say that is incorrect. The medical diagnosis in the police report is based off the assumption of a police officer who is not really, a doctor. So it's not really clear if she has actually dementia, but it is an example of people taking advantage of the elderly community. This has happened time and time again. I mean, construction crews showing up to people's houses in Queens. I mean, I think there was a story about a year ago about someone being killed by someone posing as a construction worker at their house. So, I mean, it's terrible. Stories like these really do leave just like such a sour taste in my mouth. But it is the silver lining I try to find is that I do think that these stories are relatively rare. I mean, it happens.
I would hope.
It happens. And
Lizzie,
like you said,
I'll tell you the truth, I don't know about that. I just don't know whether they're rare.
Like you said, we constantly get calls every day, but I do think that people are kind of wising up to the typical scams. If you see a scam likely on your phone, on your caller ID, you're not going to answer. If you see an unrecognized number, you're not going to answer. Something I do, I don't even say like yes or no when I'm on the phone anymore because I'm like so paranoid that they're going to take my words and splice them up and use them at my credit card company. When I answer the phone, I just clear my throat and wait for the other person to talk. I don't even say hello. I just go and wait for the person to start telling me what they want from me. So, low trust society. What do we do about it? I don't know, but man, we gotta learn to, respect thy neighbor. Whatever happened to that?
There we go. And so therein lies, you said solutions, and I think that there we go. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Lizzie, meanwhile, I want to get to some of these stories you sent me. The AWS crash. I didn't even put that on my list of stuff. That was, for people that don't know AWS, that's Amazon Web Service. So what's Amazon Web Service? Those of you that are online, the infrastructure of the internet is an entirely different business. And Amazon Web Services delivers, in addition to everything else that they're selling and out there, Amazon Web Services is an integral part of the infrastructure of the internet, not just in America, but around the world. They had a major outage this week. To the point that folks over in Europe are wondering now, that was part of the news from there after this service affected them, whether they should start developing an alternative that would be a European-based alternative to Amazon Web Services. But you said that this crash, the story you sent me, the AWS crash this week caused $2,000 smart beds to do what?
So a lot of people who got in their, like you said, $2,000 very expensive smart mattresses, they got in bed and then they were awoken because either the bed was stuck in an upright position or it started to overheat because they couldn't control the temperature. That's one of the online features, is that you could cool or heat your mattress pad, and that was not available to users who were now offline, knocked offline because of this outage. So this, to me, it reminds me a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we talked about a story about the smart fridge. The fridge that displays, and that they were putting ads out on the smart fridge. Everything is smart. And now we've become like, so the age old joke is, smartphones, dumb society. We have become like dumb users of all these smart devices, constantly, upgrading to a smart bed. Why do you need a bed that needs internet access in order to function? That to me is a red flag. That to me is just like, there are models of beds that don't require internet connection that,
there are mattress pads that you can that go for the whole length of the bed. It's king size, whatever. I don't want to mention a brand name. I used to have one. And you just adjust the heating on the mattress pad if you want a hot bed. Now, I don't know about the cooling part. Maybe that's where but yeah.
Even the cooling, that should be linked. I mean, I don't know why you need online internet access in order to do those things, those basic mechanical functions. They are not digital online functions. They are mechanical functions that should be able to be done with the press of a button, not through the connection of a cloud. And that is like indicative of to me, that the next, big conflict, the next big world war, that everybody fears. Everybody's constantly on edge, like, when's the next big world conflict going to be? It's going to be fought entirely in the cloud, okay? None of us are going to be sent to the front lines of Normandy like it's the 40s or anything. We're going to be, having to throw our devices out the window, burning our smart beds, smashing in our smart fridges. That's going to be the actual front lines. It's going to be the things that we hold in our palms every single day.
Lizzie has turned futurist, ladies and gentlemen. This is like the new, I don't know whether you have ever heard or read Alvin Toffler, but back in the days, he was one of the futurists that predicted so many things, and in ways that is worth revisiting, by the way, to see how many things that Alvin Toffler used to predict have come true. Let me ask you very quickly, we got time for one more story. Let me just ask you really quickly. This is, I think, the benefit of science, perhaps. Scientists are racing to grow things in the lab. Among them, Lizzie, you say they are, or CNN says, the story, that they're looking to grow human teeth. Explain.
Yes, so this is actually happening on multiple fronts at a few different colleges. They're doing many different studies and experiments to combine different cells to create an artificial tooth, but it would be a true human biological tooth that would be able to grow in your mouth. Now, they say, of course, that would help with implants, and especially, with implants, you could reject dental implants. That happens with any implant. That would not happen if it is an actual human tooth in this case. And it would also just be more comfortable in general. So like I mentioned, this is happening in London at King's College. This is happening up in Tufts University, in Boston, in Osaka at Kitano Hospital. This is happening, and it's might take a full fruition within the next coming decade. So this is not far off that we could see lab-grown human teeth being used as implants in dentist's office within the next 10 years. And something that I do want to mention, very funny from this article, is that the University of Washington seems a bit shady in compared to the rest of the peer work happening in the lab-grown tooth field. They reference the King's College experiment. They said, oh yeah, that's builds on tooth-like structures, but our platform generates the key human tooth-forming cell types from scratch and guides them along developmental trajectories. And I think that's so funny that scientists get so shady in their official reports. But yeah, so human teeth grown in the lab could be coming to a dentist's office near you, and not thanks to AI, but thanks to scientists in the lab working hard.
Well, I wonder how much those are going to cost. Yeah, but look at the cost of implants. Lizzie, thank you. Thank you so much. Let's save this story for another day on AI and brain rot, because I do want to get to that too. So let's save that. Maybe let's talk about that next week.
Oh, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you, Lizzie. Lizzie Radabali, ladies and gentlemen. James Golden, Snerdley here with you. Saturday Morning Vibe, 800-848-9222.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, we got about a minute here. Let me grab a quick call and let's head to Pennsylvania. Gail, I only have a short time. I want you to get right to your point. Please, thank you for calling. How are you, Pennsylvania?
Hi, James. Everyone loves open markets, free international trade. It's just wonderful. And then we find out we were the only ones open, just about. And our products could not be sold in some places because they made the cost so high. And Canada was one of the worst. The dairy products were like 200% higher with their tariffs put on us. So between the VT taxes of EU and the tariffs, we were unmarketable worldwide. How is that fair?
You nail this, Gail. And this is what I was talking about with our friend from Ontario. I mean, they're getting mad, but Canada has frozen out American products for decades. Europe has frozen out American products. Japan had frozen out American products. China had frozen out American products. So they could trade to us, but our manufacturers couldn't trade to them. What is happening now with tariffs and trying to rebalance this is long overdue. And you have nailed the reason. The only ones open were us. Wow, she did a masterful job there. James Golden, Snerdley. We're going to continue. 800-848-9222 is the number how you reach us. Got a lot more, and we're going to continue, by the way, with EBT Saturday. Part of the Saturday Morning Vibe. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Take away child support, food stamps, Section 8, and Medicaid. I bet some women will be more cautious of who they sleep with.
Boom.
I want to be in the grocery store when they start looting it, because you think that people are going to be hungry? You think that these people not going to get their Thanksgiving? Baby, when they run up in there and start stealing them turkeys, oh, it's going to be like Christmas came early up in this. I want to see the first news story about somebody stealing a turkey, because you know they about to go down, and I wanna be front row for it, because I'm here for it. Get everything up out of the grocery store. Get it all.
Hi, if you don't feel for the people that are about to not get EBT next month, you're a bad person. Like, it's not like a question. Like, you are a bad person.
We're coming back to the telephones in a minute. Speaking about true colors, Brett Baer got J.B. Pritzker to show some of his true colors. Let's go to cut 7. This is probably one of the most... This one shows you who J.B. Pritzker is. And, let's just get right to it.
Chicago have the highest murder rate of all the big cities.
Well, we are not in the top 30 in terms of our murder rate. Indeed, our murder rate has been cut in half over the last 4 years, and every year it's gone down by double digits. And if you look at all of the violent crime over the last 4 years,
here's a map.
They've all gone down.
U.S. cities, 17.47 per 100,000 population. Chicago is number 1 over Philadelphia, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Phoenix, Los Angeles, New York, and San Diego.
What I'm explaining to you is
you're
when
talking
you want
about
to fight
violent crime.
Look, you can pull statistics up.
No, these are murders.
I'm explaining to you that our murder rate has been cut in half. And very importantly, Brett, and you got to hear this, very importantly, we've been doing the things that are necessary to bring crime down, right? We've invested in community violence interruption.
This is astounding. J.B. Pritzker on with Brett Baier. By the way, did you know that over there, Barry Weiss over at CBS, its news story this week, they're interested. I don't know whether this is valid or not, but apparently CBS News wants to poach Brett Baier, if you believe some of the reporting on this, and bring him over to CBS for their evening news. But that aside, you've got J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. Brett Baier asked him, the murder rate in Chicago is the number one in the country. He immediately stops Brett Baier and says, oh, no. We are, if you look at the top 30, we're not even in the top 30. That's the first thing he says. There were 30 more cities, according to J.B. Pritzker, that have a higher murder rate than Chicago. So Brett Baier pulls up, and this was funny, pulls up the map, the video with the percentages of which cities are which, and Chicago is the number one murder rate in the country. Then he starts a new path of gobbledygook. Well, we've cut the murder rate in double digits every year. Well, wait a minute. If you're cutting double digit every year, the minimum double digit is 10%. If you're cutting 10%, and every year you're cutting another 10%, and then another 10%, how many murders are there if you can keep cutting the murder rate by 10% and you still have double-digit murders happening in your city? But look, he is excusing what we all know to be true. That the murder rates in Chicago have been ridiculous. And yet he goes on with Brett Baier and absolutely puts out, I hate just calling people liars and saying but when someone says you're in your state, Chicago's the number one, and you say they're not even in the top 30, and then they bring the receipts, it's the number one. What does that make you? Trying to deny the truth. And there's no concern here for the victims of these murders at all. Never once. You know what? Even one murder is too much. Even 2, 3, 4 murders is too much. None of that. You get no empathy from this man at all, that so many people in Chicago, and it has been going on for decades. In almost every blue city in America, same story. Murders out the wazoo. But meanwhile, who are the bad guys? Cut 6. This is Baier on Pitch, and Pritchard will tell you who the bad people are. In his view, these are the bad people.
You were in an interview and you called ICE agents and looking like they're acting like Nazis after the Holocaust. Take a listen.
What I'm saying is that this is how authoritarian regimes do it. They create these kind of fake ideas that there's an enemy out there and it could be sitting next to you at one of these tables.
This kind of language, fascism, Nazism, it's permission. We went to war to destroy the Nazis, to overcome fascism. It's permission. It's a slippery slope to violence, and it's unacceptable. And it's pervasive on the left. We saw that pre-Charlie Kirk. We saw it post-Charlie Kirk's terrible assassination, and it needs to stop, and the Democrats are guilty of not standing up against it.
How do you respond to Senator McCormick?
What I can tell you is that Alberto Pinochet was an authoritarian. There are lots of authoritarians that I could point to. It happens that I know best because I helped build a Holocaust museum sitting next to Holocaust survivors about what the Nazis did in those early years.
I understand that.
I'm not talking about the Holocaust. I'm talking about what they were doing, taking away people's rights, arresting people, asking them for papers. Early on in an authoritarian regime, wherever it is in the world throughout history, this is what happens. It's the beginning of something very bad for our country, especially a constitutional republic.
To his point, in this environment, you're demonizing ICE agents. If some ICE agent gets killed, and we just saw an assassination attempt down in Dallas, isn't that not something that we should be really talking about like that?
The thing that we're demonizing is when ICE agents aren't following protocols. They aren't acting like law enforcement should act. They're instead literally racially profiling. We've seen it. All you have to do is go online and look at some of the videos. Just to be clear, because I think many people that are listening maybe haven't seen that
You don't
before.
think you're painting with a broad brush of all the ICE agents that are doing their job?
No, we're saying that if you're an ICE agent and you do these things, we think you ought to be held accountable, and yet no one in Washington, no one above them, no supervisor, no inspector general is holding anybody accountable. There literally haven't been any suspensions or firings for the terrible things that they've done, literally grabbing people, tackling them when they're U.S. citizens and have done zero wrong.
So the terrible things are the ICE agents. First of all, this give me your papers business. People routinely ask for ID. Democrats have now tried to link that to Nazism, law enforcement doing their jobs. Oh, they're doing their jobs because when they arrest people, they want to see identification. When you get stopped for a traffic ticket, what's the first thing the police officer says to you? May I see your ID? He's not a Nazi. This is a standard law enforcement procedure that the Democrats are trying to smear law enforcement people that are doing their jobs. It's disgusting and it's disgraceful. Stephen Miller was asked about all of this and asked about, look, we have a week where Nancy Pelosi has suggested, by the way, and other Democrats, there's a clown in New York that has suggested the same thing. That now it's time for local police to arrest ICE agents and arrest federal workers. It is nonsensical. And Miller was asked about those things, I believe. Let's go to cut 8 and let's see.
In Illinois. Now, it appears the federal government has said if that happens, J.B. Pritzker could be arrested. Let's talk about your willingness and under what federal authority do you arrest a sitting governor? I understand the supremacy clause. I understand interference with a federal officer. Tell me how it works that he would make himself susceptible to being arrested.
Well, the answer I'm about to give doesn't only apply to Governor Pritzker. It applies to any state official, any local official, anybody who's operating in an official capacity who conspires or engages in activity that unlawfully impedes federal law enforcement conducting their duties. So if you engage in a criminal conspiracy to obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration laws or to unlawfully order your own police officers or your own officials to try to interfere with ICE officers or even to arrest ICE officers, you're engaged in criminal activity. Different kinds of crimes would apply. There's obstruction of justice. There is harboring illegal aliens. There is impeding the enforcement of our immigration laws. And then as you get up the scale of behavior, you obviously get into seditious conspiracy charges, depending on the conduct, and many other offenses. So again, it depends on the action. It depends on the conduct. It depends on what is taking place. But what we need to reassure a couple points. To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice.
All right, Stephen, before we go,
Now, let me just say this. Pritzker in this language and the Democrats in their language are turning the federal law enforcement into, in their view, Nazis. People that are akin to the Gestapo, which is an insult to anybody that's ever understood what took place in Nazi Germany during World War II and the Holocaust. It is a disgrace that these people would belittle what happened over there by calling American law enforcement agents Nazis and Gestapo. It is disgraceful. But it is having an impact. And this is the impact that it's having on people who don't understand history, who all they do is get revved up by what they're hearing, that the Gestapo is out kidnapping people and doing other things. Then you get cut 18, and this is what you get from people. Average people that listen to this nonsense spewed by these insincere politicians.
I'll probably lose my account for this. At this point, I don't give a single flying if you see someone being kidnapped by someone who, or a group of people for that matter, that don't have warrants or show badges, unalive them. Just unalive them. That's what the Second Amendment is for. They are not performing under any article, under any law that is under our Constitution. They are kidnapping people and taking them to third world countries where many have died. Just do it.
This is insane. And the Democrat rhetoric is actually responsible. Yes, it is totally responsible for inciting people like this to suggest that people should murder federal law enforcement officials. James Golden, Snerdley. And by the way, this week, 2 more instances where ICE officials were rammed by cars. One tried to ram them with a U-Haul. Had an incident out in Arizona. Had another incident out on the left coast somewhere else. It's insanity.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And a PSA to them retail workers during this hard time of what's going on in the world. I really don't advise y'all to try to chase after anybody that's trying to collect them some food for their family as they're walking out that door with that cart, because you might around and don't make it home. What's going on in this world, I really think it's y'all best bet to let them people walk about that store with that and you mind your business. Because I promise you, when y'all get in my face, I'm going to flu-flock y'all ass. I swear for Jesus.
Let me tell you something. If you think that you better come up in here and steal from the Wally world because you ain't getting no food stamps, I'm going to call the police on you. I'm going to call. They're on speed dial. I'm going to call them expeditiously. I don't care.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the food stamp battles, the EBT battles are raging across social internet. More people, though, I must say, are claiming that they're going to be the participants of robbery, thievery, because they don't get their bennies, because of the Democrat shutdown. Also, just an added to that, I read you a text from a woman, friend of mine, whose nephew was murdered in Chicago, and I just got another text. You can read this one if you like. My son, who you know, James, was mugged in Chicago when we were all there on vacation. We were leaving. It was unreported. There's nothing the police could do anyway. And I'll just mention, in the families of policemen, they know. Feel free to tell her it's Lady Benedict's son. She's still furious. It happens every single day across America. These murders, these endless murders, and you have Pritzker on TV lying about it. Openly, brazenly lying about it. But you know what else happened here? Cut 1. We're not going to play the whole thing because we don't have time.
Wanted to just to recognize the team here today. You know, as I live around the group here, Director Patel, I appreciate the support and I share with you behind the scenes
That's the Philadelphia Police Commissioner at a press conference announcing what the FBI Director Kash Patel and others just in a sweeping raid in Kensington of the Kensington gang. And it shows that government, federals working with the locals, can permanently remove violent crews from American street. The FBI, federal prosecutors, Friday announced a historic announcement charging 33 alleged gang members of the Weymouth Street drug trafficking organization of crimes. They have been operating in the Philadelphia area for a decade. Out in the open air drug markets. They weren't even hiding it. They had just taken over. It was like a scene out of The Wire. Taken over, selling drugs out in the open, nobody stopping them for 10 years. And it's Donald Trump. It's Kash Patel sending in federal troops to help the beleaguered Philadelphia law enforcement who are trying their best to do right and do good for the community, and they got it done. And who are the people complaining as crime and murders are being taken care of? Democrats. Anything illegal, they're for it, apparently. Hour number 2 in the can. I'm going to calm down because now hour number trio comes up and Princess Diana will be with us. Saturday morning vibe. Have another cup of coffee. Relax. We've got more good music too. And your telephone calls. Whatever you do, don't go away. Keep everything right here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So it's nice to see Gavin tap dance in a tweet. Good for him. But the truth is, we do set the guidelines by which licenses can be issued. We sent that guidance out. Gavin Newsom said, I'm not going to follow it. I'm going to allow this foreigner to get an upgraded license that was Gavin Newsom's choice. The states issue commercial driver's licenses. We give the guidance, they issue them. I gave the guidance, Gavin Newsom didn't follow it, and 3 people are now dead because he refused to follow the rules that come from DOT. So again, nice effort to try to pass the buck. But again, this is really simple stuff. Keep your citizens safe. Keep foreigners off the roads, especially those who aren't trained. Stop giving licenses illegally to people who are not in the country lawfully.
Welcome to Hour Number Trio, Saturday Morning Vibe. Hour Number Trio, ladies and gentlemen, you know what that means.
It's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
She is the Ness, the goodness, the princess, the intellectual Ness. Everything Ness is good. Princess Diana is in the houseness with usness. Good morning, Your Highness. How are you?
Oh, Sir James Ness, it's so wonderful always to talk to you these Saturday mornings.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. We played Secretary Duffy responding. Yes. Now, have you seen the video of this incident that he's talking about, Princess?
Sorry to say, yes, I have. It is just haunting and chilling and horrific. And it's not the first time. If you recall, it wasn't that long ago where this similar situation unfolded in Florida. Near Port St. Lucie, there was a dash cam footage of a driver. Similarly, it turned out he was not a citizen. He was illegally here. And he decided from the highway just to make a U-turn from the right lane and crossed 3 lines of traffic, and there were vehicles there. And you see the dash cam video of what was his point of view, and people were killed there. And at that point, Secretary Duffy started an investigation And it has been learned, based on a federal audit, that California has given 62,000 commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. And so these are people who entered illegally, who do not have permanent legal status as required by federal law. California gives these licenses out. According to California, they're not even allowed to ask an applicant's immigration status. And so these people are being sent out into the rest of the country, driving semi-trucks and large vehicles that they are not trained for, that they can't read English. They do not know the rules of the law of the road. And now, as you mentioned, the one that soundbite you just played was after another similar. This one happened in California. This was on I-10 in Ontario, California. And the dash cam footage, which is chilling, showed that there was stopped traffic ahead of this driver, and he never slowed down. He was on the freeway. There was rows and rows of bumper-to-bumper traffic ahead of him, and he just barreled into him. And that dash cam footage, you see, the crushed vehicles, metal flying, and he not only crushed what was ahead of him, and then he veered off the road and veered into other vehicles that were on the other side of the road. He killed 3 people, injured 3 people. But he never stopped, and he has been charged with gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence of drugs causing injury. So he has been basically held without bail, and there is now an ICE detainer on him. But this was one of these things, and I want to read the quote after Secretary Duffy was scolding and complaining and rightly angry about California. This is what Gavin Newsom said. This is tragic. And with every tragedy over the last 10 months, Secretary Noem has ordered Secretary Duffy to look for every opportunity to manipulate the facts to score cheap political points. So he is not even acknowledging the gravity of the horrible risk he has caused for the entire rest of the country with these drivers being sent out. And as I mentioned, 62,000 of them are on our roads. And so when you see a truck driver driving a truck around you when you're driving and behind you, now all of us have to wonder, is this someone who knows, who is paying attention, who knows the rules of the road, and is duly licensed and trained to be able to handle a vehicle of that size? But the Fox News went back and did some research. Turns out that this particular California driver, who is now been charged, name is Jashanpreet Singh. He's 21 years old. He entered the United States illegally through the Mexican border in 2022 and was released into the country by Biden. He got work authorization from Biden in April 2023, at which point that was when he started his seeking the California CDL, and he received it from California. And James, not only did he receive the California CDL based on the federal say-so from the Biden administration, he had authorization to work, and that was what California now says they based it on. And he also was given the real ID, which is what the California CDL also allows him to vote. Because when you have real ID, you are able to go anywhere. As you know, we all had to go through all kinds of hoops to get our real IDs and present documentation. I mean, I did, because a lot of women have had their name changed through marriage. You have to bring your marriage certificate, your Social Security name change. You had to do all of that. Now, that real ID, all 50 states have, and now in order to fly, you must have it. And it is really an official identification in this country. And all of these people are getting them from California. So this is
62,000.
62,000 at least. And you know, this is tip of the iceberg. So this is something that needs to be really understood by the rest of us. We have to have our radar up on when we're on the road. And also the pressure needs to be put on California by the rest of the country, and some states have started doing that. I don't know if you remember, there was in Oklahoma, after the Florida first accident I described, Oklahoma started looking into this, and they started pulling people over, and they saw that the California driver's licenses, the CDLs, often had the description, no name given. So it's one of these things California just put on the CDL for these truck drivers, didn't even have their names. So Oklahoma started pulling off and just basically using their own state laws to get these trucks off the road. And all of the states should do the same and put pressure on California. And the federal government already has withheld some money, $40 million, which isn't a lot when it comes to federal money, because California is not cooperating with the requirement for truck drivers to speak English. But this pressure has to be much larger and much more painful for California, so that they must basically support. And right now, this has to go to the Supreme Court. I believe that there is a lawsuit traveling there, so that California will no longer be allowed to endanger the rest of the country with this horrible policy.
And let me just add a few things here. That video, folks, if you search it out, I'm telling you, what Princess Diana said here, it is haunting. One of the cars was so mangled in the aftermath of this that it could not even be identified what make and model vehicle it was. It was so destroyed. These people are just sitting here. If they looked in their rearview mirror and saw what was coming, I just feel sorry for them, because it was horrible. This guy's just blaring down full speed and just rams into one after another. Then the force of that takes him off the road, rams into others, and never stops until the vehicle is stopped from this horrific crash that left 3 people dead. Again, the Florida Turnpike one, on a turnpike, a guy decides to do a U-turn. It's asinine. It's insane. Right. And cars plow right in him, other death. This is California. This is Gavin Newsom willfully. And this thing runs deep. And by the way, this real ID component, and they keep telling you that illegal aliens can't vote. Don't believe anything these people say. Exactly. Okay? Stephen Miller commented on it. Then we're going to take a break, and we're going to move on to the other thing that has Democrats and some Republicans in a lather. And that is President Trump and these drug interdictions that are happening on the high seas. But Stephen Miller also remarked on this Cut 12, Kelvin, on this incident that took place with illegal immigrants getting commercial driver's license. That's what CDLs are, commercial driver's license, so that they can travel along the interstate highway systems of the United States of America without knowing how to speak English, without, in some cases, even being identified as to who they are. Stephen Miller weighed in as well.
This is a Democrat-caused calamity, heartbreaking calamity. The first crime against Americans was the Biden administration's decision to voluntarily free and release from custody an illegal alien within hours of crossing the southern border. Again, let's go back to the unending nightmare that we lived through for 4 years under Biden, where single adult men in groups in caravans or traveling alone would show up at the border, present themselves, announce, I am here illegally, I've invaded your country, I demand entry. And Biden would order the Border Patrol at taxpayer expense to ferry them on to the destination of their choice, in this case, California. That happened in 2022. The Biden administration did one other thing. Donald Trump issued a regulation barring work permits for illegal aliens. Biden reversed that regulation, mandated work permits for illegal aliens, issued him a work permit. And by the way, we're now being sued by every leftist group you can imagine trying to get us to keep giving work permits to illegal aliens because that's what leftists want. Then Gavin Newsom, in his state, has a policy to give commercial driver's licenses to individuals who do not know how to speak English and do not know how to drive. Those are policy choices that Governor Newsom and his state have made. So it's one Democrat policy choice after another.
And that is resulting in the deaths of Americans. And I don't understand for the life of me why there are not now class action suits from American citizens demanding that, number one, these families of the people that have been killed by these illegal immigrants led in by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and aided and abetted by Gavin Newsom and California's legislature, why there is not accountability for these deaths. Amen. This is insanity on parade. Princess Di is with us, ladies and gentlemen. James Golden, Snerdley, Saturday Morning Vibe. We are going to continue.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Fact that Trump think he doing something by not giving food stamps next month, like bitches don't have purses and bags. Bitch, we're gonna eat, and we're gonna eat good on your dime, ho. Yeah, on the big corporation's dime. Because what? Food stamps ain't stopping no show. You wait and see how hungry people get and see what the happen. Bitch, let me tell you something. Them junkies that be on Baltimore, on North Avenue is gonna have a field day. They're gonna make their money on. Okay? You ain't stopping, okay? Because as long as I got a purse, a car, bitch, some car keys, my baby's just going to eat if I have to. I'm going to do what I got to do. Catch me if you can.
Princess Diana, Your Highness, the White House ballroom, you have any thoughts that you'd like to share on the hysteria that has engripped the left over the White House ballroom?
It has been so entertaining, James. I have to say, it's as if, as you said, these people have never seen a renovation ever in their lives. They have never seen a builder at work. They have never seen any kind of construction, and they're just shocked at what it looks like. Oh, they're big machines, and there's dirt, and there's things got knocked over, and everything is icky. It is hilarious because they're so unfamiliar. This is the laptop class. They're unfamiliar with real life and how things work and how things get built. And so, one of the funny things about it is, I don't know if you saw this, but the Trump administration released the donors. This is all being funded with private security. Private money, and including from Trump. And I just got such a kick out of seeing not only Microsoft, but Apple, but Comcast, which of course, they are the parent company of NBC and MSNBC, and who have just been nonstop hysteria. And just imagine how they must have felt, all of the anchors and guests when they saw, oh no, our parent company is giving money to Trump.
It's just beautiful. Oh, I got more on that too, because there's headlines. The Clintons, the Hillary Clinton, he's defiling the White House. From the president that gave us the oral office. He's defiling the White House.
These are the people that stole the silverware.
Right. Oh, we're coming back with Princess Di, ladies and gentlemen. James Golden, and your calls, Saturday Morning Vibe, 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. Maybe I'll convince Princess Di to stay on and take some calls with us today, too. We got some other serious stuff to talk about. So whatever you do, don't go away. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
the best thing I've seen out of this government shutdown, and the fact that SNAP might shut down in November, is the fact that everyone is collectively agreeing they're going to rob the big grocery stores. It's on. Walmart, you better be ready. You better be ready. Because if these motherfuckers don't get their SNAP and they can't put food on their table for their kids, you better lock your doors. You better lock your doors, because they're going to be in there with full guns and they're going to be out of there. Everything they need. It's going to be on your dime, Walmart. Your dime.
Hey, Princess, you've been listening to our EBT explosion today?
Oh, my goodness. It's so discouraging and disheartening. It's just awful.
What do you mean?
Well, it's just that, I feel that so many people are living in this angry, entitled, poisoned mindset without any thought of, basically how else to operate, like, getting a job. It never seems to occur to people. It's like, I should get a job. But, that's the only thing. If there's no EBT card, then I must steal. I mean, wait a minute. There are other things that we could consider.
I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about is actually doing a runoff. It's like trying to do like how America's Got Talent. America's Got Theft. Let's pick the best of these EBT stealers threats. Let's see. We had that one. I got more, but we can't get into it because we got other stuff, more serious stuff. Even this is serious, by the way, this whole EBT thing.
Yeah.
I had one woman. I played it, and it went by quick.
Oh, I heard that. I know the one you mean, where women need to reconsider who they sleep with. Yes. Yeah,
that one. That woman. If we did this, if we got rid of the EBT, if we got rid of the what does she say? If we got rid of the child support, if we got rid of Medicaid, if we got rid of all this stuff, then maybe some of these women might consider more who they're sleeping with. Interesting. Okay, let's get on to something that's very serious here, and that is the drug war. Let us begin by listening to our Secretary of Defense, cut to 26, Kelvin Pete Hegseth.
Generally, you don't see fishing in submarines either, sir. So the U.S. military, as I mentioned, nobody better in the world at mapping networks, identifying who's connected to who inside terrorist organizations. It's just the media is used to hearing that when it pertains to Afghanistan and Iraq and ISIS and Al-Qaeda. But if you reframe how you understand the world in our own hemisphere, that's exactly what these foreign terrorist organizations are. And so we will track them, we will map them, we will network them, and we will hunt them and kill them because they're trying to and they are killing and poisoning the American people. And inside that, we have all the license necessary, all the authorities necessary to take these kinetic strikes, and we'll continue to take them.
So Pete Hegseth, not backing down. We have the authority to do it. We're going to continue these strikes on these drug traffickers. We are sending big ship, the Gerald Ford. It doesn't fall down though. The Gerald Ford down to the Caribbean, down near Venezuela, with multiple capabilities in terms of air strikes and also naval strikes if necessary. There is hysteria on the left, and you have senators like Rand Paul who has teamed up with Tim Kaine and Adam Schiff to denounce this, and you are hearing more and more calls from the left. I'm going to play you one other, Princess Diana, and then open the floor to you. This was a segment on PMS NBC, and the guy that she's the anchorette there is talking to is the Atlantic staff writer Tom Nichols, and this is almost runs 2 minutes, but I want you to hear the hysteria about these strikes that are taking place on these terrorist drug networks.
On Helene's point about the possibility here of war crimes. I mean, even the fact that there are officers who are having that conversation tells you about the 5-alarm fire that we are in, because the Trump administration claims they can lawfully kill people simply because they are suspected of drug trafficking like enemy troops instead of arresting them for prosecution. Does that match your understanding of the law?
No, not American law and not international treaties to which we are a signatory. Basically, the president, and I want to kind of foot stomp behind Paul here about a plan. The American president has said, I can point the U.S. military any place I want and kill anyone I want. That eventually is going to become a principle in the domestic use of the military.
Yes.
He is acclimating people to the notion that the military is his private army, unconstrained by law, unconstrained by norms, unconstrained by American traditions. And that, I don't really think this has anything to do with drugs. I mean, sometimes I wonder how far he's going to go to stop the release of the Epstein files and how many distractions he's going to throw at us. But this is about getting out from under his already dismal record, his record low approval ratings, his struggling with a scandal, and he is now saying, I am going to acclimate the American public to the use of military force anywhere I deem it appropriate under any circumstances. And I may well, the president may be thinking, I may well have us in a war by the time the elections roll around, which will enable me to say any opposition to me and my party is basically treason and unpatriotic.
Tom Nichols, your brain and my brain have gone to the exact same place.
Princess Diana, where has your brain gone listening to that and to this analysis?
Well, their brains are not going. That is just hysteria. And none of what they said is true. Not a thing. I mean, Trump has operated within the law every step of the way. We all know that he declared the cartels and the terrorist gangs as terrorists and the gangs of the cartels as terrorist organizations. That is a legal designation. He also informed Congress that he has declared a state of armed conflict with the cartels. So he notified Congress, and this is a legal designation with terrorist organizations, as we did with Al-Qaeda. And Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, made the analogy. This is basically how we are approaching these terrorist gangs, these drug-running gangs, as Al-Qaeda. And that allows the elimination or detention of unlawful combatants, which is what they are. And so all the critics are ignoring all the steps that led up to this declaration and this focus by this administration of treating them as if they're Al-Qaeda, because this is the Trump doctrine, and I talked about that briefly last week, similar to the Monroe Doctrine, that Trump considers the Western Hemisphere, our hemisphere, to be our sphere. We need to make sure that we have military supremacy, and China has been making incursions. That is what this is really about. We have had a lot of news, and this week we had the 10th strike about a drug smuggling boat, and that we see the video of that, and that gets a lot of attention. But there's a much bigger action right here, and it has to do with pushing back China from influence. And one of the countries that China has really been controlling is Venezuela. And so I just wanted to recite, you mentioned that the world's largest aircraft carrier was sent down there to the Caribbean, the USS Gerald R. Ford. But this is all part of a carrier strike group deployed, a part of the U.S. Southern Command. And we've got the world's largest aircraft carrier, which can carry 75 warplanes. We have multiple warships. We have cruisers. We have 3 destroyers. We have 9 aircraft squadrons. We have multiple nuclear submarines. We have F-35 fighter jets, MQ-9 Reaper drones, P-8 Poseidon reconnaissance planes, B-52 bombers, and the Ghost ship, which is a special forces. It's called the MV Ocean Trader, and that carries the Night Stalkers. who are the air support for all special ops. Plus, at the same time, the Trump administration publicly disclosed that the CIA has been authorized to conduct secret operations in Venezuela. This is a huge armada of American firepower that has been sent down there for a reason, and people are aware of these drug-running boat blow-ups. But that is all that we're paying attention to. This is an enormous movement for enormous projection of American power, and it is basically a signal to the anti-American world, but especially to China, that we are, and as he said last week, he used the F word for Maduro, the illegitimate head of Venezuela, not to F around with the United States. And so that, to me, is news that I think we should all be paying attention to. I think we know of a lot of the conflicts in the world that Trump has been addressing. This one he hasn't talked much about, the large picture of it. And that's why. This is where his attention really is. He's often very quiet about what he's really working on. And as you know, he left last night for the Asian Summit, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. He's landing in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and he will also be going to Japan and in South Korea. It is being planned and still being worked out to have what they call a policide with Chairman Xi of China. Xi will be there. And so, people are saying it's in order to talk about tariffs, and I'm sure that trade will be huge as part of the discussions. But I also think a lot of this is going to be discussed, of this proxy war where Trump is basically bristled with armaments from America, basically saying, this, you will go no farther, and you will go home.
Wow. Folks, that is analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. It is our very own Princess Diana. Princess, you want to take some calls from people?
Okay.
She says, okay. That means not really, but I just got put on the spot. But we're going to take a break first. And then we'll come back and see if we have time to take a few calls.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, presents Rapid Phones.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Princess Diana is in the house with me, so we'll both take calls. We'll start in Manhattan with Max. Max in Manhattan, you're up. How are you?
Bo, thank you for taking my call. Let's not forget that in England right now, there are 9 Muslim mayors, all of whom are pushed for Sharia law, and they have over 100 Sharia law courts. There are also Pakistani rape gangs in England who they act as pimps, and they prime their girls, raping them, and very few of them have been arrested.
Well, the Pakistani rape gangs has caused a lot of political angst over there, and that is a story that is still going on. He says there are 9 mayors. I'm assuming he's talking about New York and what happens with Mandami. Princess Di, your thoughts on the New York mayor's race? And the polls are showing that Mandami has a double-digit lead, and we're days away.
Yes, it's really discouraging, and it looks inevitable at this point. But as you said, there's always hope. But it just reminds us that the left wing is the gateway drug to communism. And so we have had a lot of left-wing mayors and left-wing administrations in the city, and everything falls apart. And then to solve it, then you get even more left-wing, quote-unquote, promises. And this is where we end up. We end up with someone who is not fit for that position. And, this is going to be a hardship for New York City residents. And I am just praying it does not spread.
I will tell you this. The last time I went to London, Princess Di, I will just leave it at saying I was astounded at the changes.
Sad.
And I'll just leave it there. Michelle, in Hampton, Virginia, you're up next.
Good morning. I was calling because I'm not sure if you all know that they're playing dirty tricks in Virginia. They're trying to change our Constitution back to having our voting districts selected by the political party in power, which will increase the number of Democrat congressional seats in Virginia in the midterm by having the electorate vote in the spring election. But the side effect of that is also that Winsome Sears is pulled off the campaign trail because she has to preside over the Senate, and all Virginia statewide office holders are prohibited from doing any fundraising. So as the Republicans are closing in, they're making it so Winsome can't campaign and they can't fundraise.
Good Lord, Agnes. Diana?
Does this surprise anybody that they're playing dirty tricks? No, but I think it's very interesting. I saw an amazing thing by Abigail Spanberger, who is Winsome Sears' opponent, the Democrat. She is so mad that she is being made to talk about Jay Jones, the comments he made. He's the one running for Attorney General, and, you know, the wishing of ill harm for his opponents. And so she does not want to talk about it. She says, I want to talk about my plans. I want to talk about what I'm doing. I don't want to. It is hurting her. So no matter what dirty tricks they're trying to play, that ticket is in trouble in Virginia anyway.
Now, interesting, and thank you for that call. Very informative. Thank you. By the way, Virginia is joining the redistricting effort, apparently. Yeah. And this whole redistricting, Diana, we need to spend some time with this. I'm loving this redistricting thing. I'm loving every second of this. And let me tell you what else I love. As time is running out for us, Princess, I love the announcement that Donald Trump is sending election monitors to California and to New Jersey.
They're losing it over that. It has been so delightful. This is the authoritarian coming to take over, and he is never going to leave the White House. That's what they're saying.
Oh, goodness. And by the way, I hope this is just the start. I would love to see, right in time, as we get near the end of the term, for him to start talking about election monitors going to Fulton County, Georgia. Election monitors going into certain districts in Philadelphia, into certain districts in Michigan, into certain districts in Illinois, particularly Cook County. This is just delicious.
I think that's the plan. This is going to be wonderful and about time.
Well, Princess Di, that's all the time we have for calls, folks. Sorry if we couldn't get to you. Princess Di, thank you for spending the hour with us. What a wonderful treat.
It was always wonderful to speak with you, and thank you for having me.
Princess Diana, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, that was some profound analysis about what's going on in South America. In off the borders. Anyway, we gotta go. Just like that. I feel like I just sat down. And we're done. And I want special thanks to the crew. These guys, TJ, Kelvin, and Vincent. Vincent, we didn't get to talk basketball today. Hope you're back. We'll do it. You know, NBA is gonna be, I started to say a word I shouldn't say, for a long time to come. Anyway, we gotta go. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. Until next time, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.